Assalamu alaikum. And to other audience members, general greetings and well wishes. I'm quickly, for the sake of data and time, going to explain to you what white supremacy is in a nutshell, because other talks are going to be more in depth about white supremacy. And this information is addressed to not only people inside the United States, but in Australia, England, Canada, Belgium, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, Italy, and the Scandinavian countries. I briefly am going to say that when I talk about white civilization and white society, this is not to say that whites cannot be individuals, but we already know this. I will apologize for nothing that I will say about white society and white civilization. The fact is, and remains, white supremacy is in fact the underlying religion of white society and white civilization. White supremacy is a software, much like the agent software in the Matrix, and it activates inside of certain people from a subconscious level when they don't even know that it was implanted there in the first place. In this way, white supremacy does not require the continuation of implicit and conscious racists in order for it to survive. The idea of white supremacy and racism, RWS, racism, white supremacy, will continue on as an undercurrent in white society and civilization until everybody has decided that they will be not only not racist, but anti-racist, meaning anti-white supremacist, because there's no other type of racism around the world, to be honest, only personal biases or reactions to it. Or the other option is that whites must lose all power that they've ever had over anybody outside of themselves. This means they must not be allowed to rule and make decisions for anybody outside of white society and white civilization. For white society and white civilization to govern itself and only itself is one thing. For them to have influence over anybody else is unfortunately dangerous for us. So it must be understood. White supremacy as a software implanted in the subconscious minds of all of us, white and non-white alike, has certain things that it must do all of the time, certain reactions and certain actions. RWS interrupts the speaker whenever a speaker begins to speak out against RWS. It tells us to interrupt somebody. It tells us to make comparisons in between white supremacy and the reverse bias that many people of color develop against white society. It tells us that we are either to say that everyone is equal and that everybody is the same, so long as whites have an advantage. It, because it is subconscious, it makes people judge black folks harder and more difficultly and more stringently than it makes them judge whites, and it does not admit that it does so. So therefore, many people walking around, black and white alike and everything else in between, are harsher critics and judges of black folks, and they don't realize that they are. It takes over and it acts without the person even knowing and being aware of it. So that black people who say that they love black folks will not only process their hair, but will bleach their skin, dye their hair colors that it does not belong, or that did not occur naturally within that race, and wear contact lenses of eyes that don't naturally occur within that race, except very rarely. And so at this point, what it does is that it leads black women to decide that their natural black kinky hair is not good enough, and therefore they must dye it blonde and wear blue contact lens and straighten their hair too, or put a blonde wig on over it and bleach the skin. And the whole time she will say, I don't have a self-hatred problem. That's white supremacy talking. White supremacy on a global scale makes sure that everybody else will imitate white folks and seek to marry as white as possible so that their children become as far from black as possible. And this is even though the people will say that they have no problem with black people, they don't hate black folks, and really don't. It still guarantees that those who do not hate black folks will act in such a way as to make their generations as unblack as possible. This is white supremacy at a subconscious level. White supremacy makes sure that when you attack it, you speak out in defense of it. It motivates you to say, that was so long ago, slavery was so long ago, never forget. You just get over it. Forget about it. Don't worry about it. It's a new day and a new time. And then when something like 9/11 happens and is proven to not even be the work of the accused, you say, never forget. This was a tragedy and a travesty, and it cannot be forgiven. White supremacy at a subconscious level is what makes people say regarding the Holocaust, it was 6 million, never again. And when black people say we will not have our civilizations, our cities torn down again, we will not be in a position of disadvantage again. Arm yourselves, defend yourselves, and prepare to go to a safe place. Then you were motivated to say, no, it's a new day, it's a new time, let's all join together. White supremacy makes sure that when black folks actually reach out to you and want to join together and expect equal treatment, that you slap them down. That if they separate and they do better than you, you strike them down. If they are close to you and they are doing well as you, you strike them down. And that no matter what happens, you strike them down and make sure they never get onto an equal footing with you. This is white supremacy at a subconscious level, and it is global. And most of us who are not consciously racist are still programmed at a subconscious level, and therefore it is no longer enough for anybody in any part of the world to say, I'm not a white supremacist. It is necessary for everyone to say, I will from here on out be an anti-white supremacist. And therefore, I will promote melanin over non-melanin every time in order to reverse the effects of RWS on a global scale. And that only in Europe can they be supreme. This is what is necessary now, and this is what the world is not willing to do. White supremacy at a subconscious level has learned that it does not have to program you to be anti-black. All it must do now is program you to be pro-white, and you will take care of the rest yourself. You must now become anti-white supremacist, or you will be part of the problem, whether you know it or not.